All right. Hello. Well, we're back. I'm Eric Joseph, and I'm the guitar player with the StreetSide Saints. I'm here at the PTC Studios, Pittsburgh Technical College, and today I want to introduce you to my new guitar. Once I do that, I'm going to put my hat on and get down to business. So I just picked this up. I was out at Lake Erie, the town of Erie, and I went to World of Music, locally owned and operated music shop in Erie. It's a really nice store. They hooked me up. I've been looking for a nylon acoustic electric guitar for a while now, and some of the requirements were that it was a cutaway. You can see I have a cutaway here. The other thing was I needed a narrow body. So if you look at this, the body, it appears to be slightly tapered from the base to the neck. So it gets a little thinner as it goes up. But it's a thin body. That way I don't have to reach too far around with my shoulder like a typical acoustic or a classical guitar. So that was another requirement. The other requirement was that the neck was thinner. I have a classical guitar at home, traditional classical, and the neck's a lot wider. And as you know, I get older, my arthritis kicks in, it's harder and harder to play. So this one has a more of an electric guitar type neck. For the most part, the strings are very close to the fretboard, so it's very easy to play. Along with that comes the preamp that's built in has bass and treble adjustments as well as volume, but I can also set it up so that it's a tuner. So right now, I'm basically in performance mode. But if I hit this little button, the tuner comes on. So I don't know if you can see the red letter there, but now I'm tuning. So, and you can see I'm a little flat there. So first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and tune up. The studio is air conditioned, so you have to check your tuning a lot when you're in here. So now that's just the guitar itself. So the nice thing is, if I'm in a hotel room, in an apartment, and can't play through an amplifier, I can still hear it pretty well acoustically. Now, you're probably not hearing it as well as I am, but you know, it works. I'm going to go ahead out of tuner mode, and now I'm back in performance mode. Again, I'm playing through the same amp I played through last week. I'm playing through the Roland Cube Street. It's a 5-watt amp. This time I have the amp modeling switch set to acoustic. I have the gain turned all the way down. I have the main volume almost all the way up. I have a lot of reverb because I like the concert hall sound. If I'm playing classical style, it sounds real nice. I can also adjust it if I'm doing a little bit of jazz. I might go ahead and turn a little bit of chorus on. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that back off. And like I said, I'm going to put my hat on, and we're going to get down to business. I'm going to show you guys just a couple techniques I use when I'm playing. Most people don't see this when I'm playing out because I'm typically playing electric blues. But hopefully, StreetSide Saints, I'm going to take some of our songs and I don't know, make them sound a little more artsy by using the nylon and using some of my techniques I learned when I was studying at University of Akron. I was studying classical guitar, so I'll show you that. Make a little adjustment here, I think. Hopefully, is that better? Brian Shamini, my engineer and colleague here at Pittsburgh Technical College, came in and told me I was bumping into the lavalier a little bit too much. So let me go ahead and I'm going to hang this up for just a second. I'm going to grab my hat. It's got to have the hat. There we go. Hopefully it's not cut off at the top of the screen, but so what? Now the way I'm sitting here, I have an Apple box or Apple crate. We use them in the studio and on location. It's a Hollywood thing, a bunch of boxes we have at different heights. I have my leg up, so for classical guitar, when you're playing classical guitar, if you're doing it the traditional way, you usually have a footstool. You don't wear a strap, and actually classical guitars do not come with strap pegs to put a strap on. So you have to sit down, wear a suit, and play basically traditional concert style. So that's what I'm doing today, not because I want to show you the traditional concert style, but because I forgot my strap. So, but this is very comfortable. After a while, you know, you get a little tight with your knee up, but the guitar tends to rest right in here. So when I am at home practicing, this is the way I play a lot of times, even with electric. Okay, so let's get started. What I just did there, a little bit of finger picking style. I have my pick cradled in my outer three fingers. So right there, I was just using my thumb and my index finger. Doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room to play, but if you know you're going to be switching back to pick, that's a good way to do it. I do some Roschiato playing, and that is where you play backwards, a backward sweep with your fingers. Roschiato is a flamenco technique, and it uses the three main fingers of your hand. You also smack the guitar with your thumb and play like that. I don't do a whole lot of that, and I don't really like doing that. My classical guitar, I did a lot of that, and you can see it looks like chicken feet all over the surface of my guitar. It cut into the finish. So I'm not going to do that with my new guitar unless I forget and get excited. But the Roschiato style, again, I'm just taking from my ring finger, then my middle finger, and then my index finger, and I'm backwards swiping, opening up my hand in order. Again, ring finger, middle finger, and then my index finger. And then I sweep them back in that same order. So it's basically like this. So out and back in. Okay? And just like I talked about last week, where the position of your picking depends on the tone of the guitar or the timbre of the guitar, it's the same here. If I play up on the neck, I'm getting kind of a muffled sound. If I play down by the bridge, I'm getting a brighter sound. Typically, you're going to play just below the sound hole so that you're not blocking the sound. If it were an all acoustic instrument, you don't want to block the sound hole. You don't want to play. Because you would be blocking the projection of the instrument. So typically you're going to play right below it. Okay? And the nice thing about the Roschiato is it does give your hand a lot of practice opening. I don't remember the physical term for your different tendons in your hand, but if you just practice closing your fingers all the time, when opening your hand becomes difficult and you get tight and you can't play as fast. So if you even just don't even use it as a technique, use it as a practice method to exercise those other tendons in your hand. And again, open, closed, together. So that's Roschiato. Going full finger style. And it's always a good warm-up. Just take a bunch of chords. If you want to do diatonic chords, all the chords in one key, that's fine. Or you can just move up and down the neck. But what I like to do is, before I start going crazy, I like to warm up with a nice, relaxed, just arpeggio. And that kind of gets your fingers moving across the string set. The other thing you might want to do is practice scales. With all your three fingers. Don't use your thumb going up and down the scales for practicing. And then practice using your thumb. Now in classical guitar, there's a couple ways to pick with your fingers. Again, it's been a long time, so I don't remember the names. But the kind of like the freestyle is to just pick towards your palm. Okay? The other way is to rest your finger on the adjacent string as you play. Oh, sorry. So what I'm doing is I'm picking right through the string. You're going to get a very percussive sound, but that also will increase your output on the guitar, especially if you're playing a traditional, non-electric classical guitar. So a lighter sound with that kind of freestyle picking where you're just pulling up into the palm, and then a heavier. Techniques. I don't typically concern myself with how I'm picking unless it's for a certain effect in a song. If I'm out playing live, I pick however I pick. But in practice, you want to try to practice each of those equally. I can't say that I do that, but as you're first starting out, if you're just starting to do fingerstyle, you want to try to get as many different techniques under your belt as possible. It not only gives you more versatility, but it also works different muscle groups, and you won't overwork any one muscle group unless you're practicing for 20 hours a day. So, and again, I don't recommend that either. I do that and then can't use my hand the next 2 days. So the last thing I want to kind of show you guys is just a little bit of picking across an 8-bar blues pattern. So we're switching gears here from a classical style to an 8-bar blues. Your 12-bar blues is 1-4-5 progression. 8-bar can be 1-4-5 as well, but typically 8-bar blues are more of a ballad style. So there's a few more chords in there. Now, most of the chords in this are going to be diatonic, meaning the root, anyway, is diatonic. So I'm going to be playing an 8-bar blues in the key of G. Almost all the chords are going to be changed to dominant 7th chords. And it takes you melodically, and for your improvisation, it takes you out of the diatonic realm, because now you're going to be able to change keys or scales anytime a chord changes. You're in a different key. But the tonal center is still going to be the root, which is G in this case. So in the key of G major, the chords we're going to be using are going to be 1, the 4, which is, the 1, I'm sorry, is G, the 4, which is C, C major, and then the 5, which is D major, okay? We're going to be changing most of those chords to dominant 7th. So we're going to start on the G major, and then we're going to change for the next measure, it's going to be G dominant 7th. So do you hear that tonal change? Then for our 4 chord, again, this is changing keys. Even though this is the way blues is done, C dominant 7th, which is the 5 chord of the key of F major. We're not going to use that chord, but I just changed keys. Then the D7, which is the 5 of G. Now, on the rest of this, if I was to stay diatonic, I would play an E minor. But I'm going to change that chord to E7th as well. A would also be a minor because it's the 2. And again, I'm changing that to dominant 7th. The D, again, is dominant 7th. So it cycles back around to that G. The only chord that isn't based off of a diatonic root is going to be either your C sharp diminished or your D flat diminished. And that's going to be on the 4th measure. So let me go through these root only. We have 2 measures on the G. We have a measure on the C. We have a measure on the C sharp or D flat. And then the rest of the progression is 2 beats per chord. G, E, A, D. And then we have the 1-4-1-5 turnaround. G, C, G, D. Now the chords. First measure is G. Next measure is G dominant 7th. Third measure is C. Fourth measure is C sharp diminished or D flat. And then G, dominant seventh, E7, A, D, and then the 1-4-1-5. Now, the way I approach this, and I haven't mastered it, I just started doing this particular tune, is I try to learn different positions of the chords so I can change the color of the song as I'm playing. So if I play an open chord, I call these campfire, this is my open G, I can get the root and the third in. Then I change to the seventh. Then I go to the C and C seventh, and then I can play my diminished. Then I can play G as a bar, E on the upper strings, A up at the top four, D. So that's just a little approach to this. Again, you can look up 8-bar blues or 8-bar blues ballad progressions. Those change. I mean, you can take any of those chords and you can do major, dominant seventh, minor, and they work. They just change the color of the song. If we're playing it the way I just played it, it's got a real happy sound through the whole thing. But I can also take the E dominant seventh, the root E, and the A dominant seventh, the root A, and I can change those to minor chords. So So again, learning your chords and where they are and what you can substitute also helps. It gives you all that different options for color, but in addition to that, it helps you with playing runs. So learn those chords. In future lessons, the way I approach chords is not just learning a chord block from the internet or a book. You really need to learn how to build the chords so you can, make them your own. As you learn how to build the chords, you actually learn the notes you're playing, the intervals you're playing, and what sound those notes are going to be making. So, you know, because you can do a lot of substitutions. If I'm coming off the D7-5, I can take a flat at 4, which is your A flat, and do a sub. So it will add a lot of different color to your playing. And once you learn those, you can do altered dominants, which take you out of the diatonic scale. So instead of playing D7th, I can play D7th flat 9. Sharp 9. So again, this is just kind of a preview, and in the meantime, start looking up those different chords I mentioned. Again, altered dominants are really a nice way to add some flavor, that jazz sound to your blues playing or even your traditional folk playing, throwing in those substitutions. Okay. So thanks for being here. Once again, I'm Eric Joseph from the StreetSide Saints, and I'm here at the Pittsburgh Technical College Studios. I'm here with my colleague and engineer, Brian Shamini. Until next time, keep it real.